Sports Radio 92 on the game, back inside our Key Studios here. Good Saturday morning, Georgia fans, and of course, all college football fans today. What a fun day today is going to be. It is the kind of day where you, of course, get home from all of your hopeful chores or grocery shopping or errands being run in the morning. You watch my Baylor Bears at noon. You stay on the couch, obviously, through the Georgia game. You get a quick dinner, and then it's the Big Ten championship game tonight at 8 o'clock. I mean, just an absolutely fantastic day for all college football fans to enjoy. Hopefully your team winning, but either way, if your team is in the championship game, like mine is and like yours is as well, Georgia fans, enjoy the fact that they are, of course, there and have a chance to go even further. Right now, we need to go out to waitfor.com hotline and bring in UJ sports writer Blayne Gilmer, friend of the show, to get us ready for Georgia-Bama this afternoon. Blayne, good morning. How excited are you for today?
Good morning, Thomas. Very, very excited. It's going to be a great day of football, as you just mentioned. A lot of good games, but none bigger than, of course, that one happening in Mercedes-Benz here in just several hours from now.
Obviously not Georgia's first rodeo. They've been in this scenario before. You've covered Georgia teams that have been in SEC championship games before. The difference, though, is it just the fact that Georgia is one? Is it the fact that Georgia is, favorites against Alabama? What's the biggest difference that you're feeling this morning as a media member first, as someone who covers Georgia, but also as a diehard Georgia fan?
It's the makeup of this team, right? I was talking actually to my dad yesterday. We were talking about this team, and we were actually watching the Man in the Arena document about those New England Patriots back in the day that had won 21 games in a row, and they were talking about how much they loved each other, how much they were playing for each other. And I'm down on the sideline during the games. That's not just something this Georgia team talks about. You really see it come to fruition, and there's been no drop off. I mean, they hold each other accountable, whether they're up by 40 or in a tie ball game. And I think that is one of the bigger differences, is the maturity, and you see the full culture of all these guys having been recruited and had the same message from Kirby Smart start to finish. Except Julian Rochester, who was even signed by Kirby Smart. It seems like he's been there for 8 years, but it's a great culture there at Georgia this year.
Caleb and I have been talking all morning about how we should view Alabama, because obviously we respect good football team, Bryce Young, fantastic, but the Iron Bowl last week to me showed their great flaw, and that is that they're unable to protect the quarterback when they face a very good defensive line. And Georgia's defensive line, as we know, Jordan Davis, fantastic. Do you view the Iron Bowl, though, as a taxing, draining, come-from-behind win for Alabama, or as a motivating win where they had to dig very, very deep to come out on top, but now gets them even more focused and ready for Georgia? Like, was the Iron Bowl a good thing for Alabama, or was it going to eventually turn out to be a bad thing because now they face an even bigger giant in Georgia in that defense today?
Listen, as a former coach, I'm never going to say a victory is bad, right? You always you always want to win the game. That's the objective, and you're going to take that every time, especially in, Saban was genuinely satisfied with how his team came back and won. But it is, that feeling wears off after the weekend, right? You go back in on Sunday and Monday and watch film, and you say, "Ooh, there were some terrible things there." And it's just a continuation of what you've seen out of that offensive line and that secondary for Alabama, the two problem areas, for Alabama against LSU, against Arkansas, and against Auburn. And I think they have to be very wary of those mistakes. And it's hard to kind of change your DNA and who you are this late in the year. And Alabama's going to have to try to do some of those things to be able to play with this Georgia team.
What do you see George Pickens doing for the Dogs today? I mean, it seemed like last week coming back from injury, a little bit of a decoy out there. Does he actually become a factor in today's game, or is he going to be kind of out there again in kind of a decoy sort of role, being, of course, the star wide receiver for the Dogs?
From all the reports that we've gathered, he's been going absolutely full go at practice against Darren Kendrick and Keely Ringo. He has been on a little bit of a pitch count, so they'll count his reps kind of in bursts and things like that. But I would expect him to play much more than he did against Georgia Tech. Maybe not a full complement like he normally does, 25, 30 snaps. But if he plays somewhere, between 10 and 20 snaps and gets, five targets or so on the day, I think all the Georgia fans will think, hey, there's 5 more targets than they didn't have out of George Pickens, coming into it. So, and those could be red zone situations. Who knows? But Alabama has struggled with limiting explosive plays through the pass game. So anytime you have the threat of George Pickens over there, even if it forces a safety to sit over top of him, change their coverage just a little bit, that's one less person in the box to stop Georgia's very efficient run game.
Talking to Blayne Gilmer right now, writer for UGAsports.com, talking obviously Dogs versus Crimson Tide. We'll get into some of the other college football games here in just a couple of minutes. Bama's offense to me is very interesting this year because we love Bryce Young. I mean, like everybody in the nation outside of Dog fans thinks Bryce Young is fantastic. So young though, and has never really been in a game of this magnitude. It felt like every single SEC championship game we've had to face Bama in the past, they've had, an established quarterback, somebody who is considered one of the greats in college football, and I think Bryce Young is there right now, but it's a matter of obviously still getting those reps underneath his belt. Do you see Bryce Young having a big day today? Do you see him struggling a little bit? How do you view the young signal caller for the Crimson Tide?
I think he'll struggle to a certain extent just because he's facing what I view as the best defense in all of college football and maybe the best defense this century in college football. Like it's going to be a monumental task for him. But the reason he will make his fair share of football plays here in this game, there's no doubt about it. You cannot, you can only hope to contain him, right? You can't shut a guy like Bryce Young down. He's, in my opinion, the Heisman Trophy winner, a very, 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 very skilled quarterback, distributor of the football. So I think it'll be a mixed bag for him. But what's going to hurt him is I think Alabama's going to be totally one-dimensional, unable to run the ball. And, once you have to drop back over 50 times, they had to drop back and pass 51 times against Auburn. That gives more opportunities for interceptions. And Auburn had 7 sacks, and Georgia's defensive front is much better than that of Auburn. So we'll see how many sacks Georgia walks away with. They had 7 in the Clemson game to start off the year this year.
Let's look at the worst case scenario here. Let's say that Georgia loses, Bama wins. Georgia's still in the college football playoff. Caleb and I were debating about an hour ago. How far down do you bump Georgia? Right? Are you moving them down to 3? Do you bump them only down to 2? Because again, it would only be 1 loss, and the 1 loss would have come to Alabama. How far would you slide Georgia, barring the unthinkable happens today and they do lose to Alabama?
Well, and it really doesn't matter what you or I think, right? It's what the committee's going to do, and the committee wouldn't slide them any further down than 3 because Alabama would then go to 1. And they wouldn't want a rematch of Georgia-Alabama
right.
in the semifinal. They would want to save that for the national championship game. So they would drop Georgia to 2 or 3, but 3 being the lowest.
What does this do for Kirby Smart? I hate legacy questions, and I know we're going to get them a lot of talk in terms of sports radio and blog writers and stuff on Monday. Win or lose, right? Lose, it'll be the same old of Kirby Smart can't win the big game, and Kirby Smart can't beat Nick Saban, and Saban still has this dominant record against former assistants. But the win would then create what for Kirby Smart? What does this do for him going forward?
Kirby, and this is 100% true. I've come to know, being in press conferences and covering and things like that, Kirby Smart cares not one iota what anybody on the outside thinks. What it will allow Kirby Smart to do is he's already recruiting at a number 1 class, level. But there are recruits we still talk to out there that, in this game and other games, we want to see if Georgia can kind of get over that hump. Can they be that team to take out Alabama and things like that? It'll just be one more bullet in the gun that Kirby Smart can pull out when he's on the recruiting trail to absolutely continue to add talent. Now it's transfer portal season. That's going to come into play, and there's going to be no more eyes on any other game in the country than this one here, and that includes a lot of talented players that are looking at Georgia possibly being their next destination. So that's really the biggest thing it'll do for Kirby Smart is help him even more on the recruiting trail.
Focus obviously stays on Georgia and Alabama throughout the rest of the day, but I'm curious, as a Georgia fan, what other conference championship game are you most looking forward to today? Obviously, keeping an eye on Cincinnati, maybe, as that's your potential 1-4 matchup. What do you you're going to watch them all, I'm sure, but if you can only watch one that wasn't Georgia-Bama, which one are you going to watch?
Well, I'm going to be inside the Mercedes-Benz covering it, so I don't know how much I'll get to see of other ones and things like that. Got to get there early and probably be there a good bit after the game. But I'm excited to see just if early on in the day, if Oklahoma State can kind of seize an opportunity that's out in front of them, because if Georgia takes care of business, Oklahoma State, literally, it's a win and in scenario because Alabama will drop out. If Georgia takes care of business, and a Big 12 champion would be favored over them as a two-loss team. So, I know that's not what you want to hear as a Baylor guy, but if Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy are able to take care of business, I think that win over a team as good as Baylor would be so impressive and them being the Big 12 champs, that would put Oklahoma State in the playoff. And they're similar to Georgia, right? They've come so close throughout the years in the past, like back when the Brandon Whedon years and things like that, where they were ranked number 2 in the BCS and take a tumble. So can the Cowboys get it done? I think that'll be an interesting game.
Of course, Cowboys and the Bears Big 12 championship game will kick off at noon. Blayne, we're going to go ahead and let you go. I hesitate to ask this because some people don't like to give me a prediction. If you don't want to give me a score prediction for today, that's fine. But if you want to, your score prediction for Georgia-Bama is what?
It's already out there on UGAsports.com. Everybody can check it out over there. But it is Georgia 34, Alabama 21.
There you go. I love it. I appreciate the prediction. UGAsports.com, my go-to place, and it should be yours too for all of your Georgia needs. Blayne Gilmer at B Gilmer 18 on Twitter. Blayne, have a great day. Enjoy being in the press box and enjoy the fanfare and all that comes with covering an SEC championship game as you'll be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We appreciate you waking up early and coming on the show.
Thank you, Thomas.
Always appreciate Blayne Gilmer. Again, at BGilmore18 on Twitter. Give him a follow. Incredible writing stuff there for UGAsports.com. I appreciate him being a friend of the show and coming on here basically whenever I ask. Big Georgia games, I text Blayne and off he comes here in the 7:40 time slot. Fun day for him, right? I mean, for someone who's covered big-time college football games in the Big 12, I've not done so actually being at the games in the SEC, and you've covered some big college football games as well. Getting to go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium today, as a fan of Georgia, because Blayne, of course, is, right? He's a dog through and through. So you get to watch your team, but getting to work it as well as a completely different feeling. You get the press box, you get there early, you get the nice free food, because all press boxes are fantastic. I've been to Mercedes-Benz Stadium press box. They have fantastic food. You have too. Just a fun day for him overall, and a fun day for all involved getting to cover the SEC championship game.
Oh, trust me. Yeah, this is one game that has still eluded me to this point. Still haven't covered an SEC championship. And, seniority comes into place and timing and all that sort of stuff. So I do want to, get to experience that at some point. For people who never have, especially at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you talk about that. The food is so good. It's one of those, you just can't look past the fact that Mercedes-Benz Stadium has some of the best food when it comes to media dining. And not everyone pulls out all the bells and whistles. I'm very curious because just kind of, leaking a little thing out there, I will be going wherever the semifinal game goes for Georgia. And so I'm very curious to find out, what does the Orange Bowl or what does the Cotton Bowl have in store for media dining and things of that nature. I'm excited for that.
I have been to the press box multiple times, calling Baylor games on the radio at Jerry World, and I'm going to tell you, I've been to Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz is fantastic. Jerry World was a little better. Jerry World's food and all the plates are Dallas Cowboy plates, like they're all logoed and whatever it is. The food at Jerry World was bar none. I mean, because Texas food, right? So you get barbecue. The grilled chicken was fantastic. You get the brisket. I love the Benz's food is elite. If you're gonna go to the Cotton Bowl, oh man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Congratulations on that, by the way. That is some big news right there. You get to go wherever Georgia goes.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those. We got to take opportunities when they come to us, and I wanted to jump on that, but it's more of I've never covered a semifinal, and it feels like this is a good year to do that, like this is a Georgia team that no matter what happens today, it just seems like they can make some moves. I have been to Miami before, so I'm kind of just really. I've never been to Jerry World, so it's kind of like, the top seed gets to pick. So it's like, come on, Georgia, win today and then pick the Cotton Bowl.
Georgia, Alabama. We'll see what happens. 4 p.m. The CBS game. Georgia 6.5-point favorites over there, just down the road, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Quick break. We need to come back and jump into our weekend headlines. The rest of the college football championship games are going to be very interesting. That Michigan Big Ten championship game, a lot looms on that in terms of who's the 2 seed, who they could face in the championship game, being Georgia. We'll jump into our weekend headlines. Hawks also had, briefly we'll mention them because the Hawks are not a focus today, even though they are important. A tough loss last night. Trae Young had a very interesting press conference moment. There was just one question asked, one answered by Trae Young. We'll hear from him coming up next year as Radio Mott rolls on. Sports Radio 910 The Game, 910thegame.com.